Hello everyone, I am Shantanu. I am here on behalf of Group 6 to give the presentation. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Subhajit Mandal, sir, who has helped us and guided us in completing this assignment. So thank you very much, sir. Now coming to our group members, we have Ujjwal Kumar Gupta, Harsh Garg, K. Shantanu Sekhar Senapati, that is myself, Shubham Das, Komal Kumari, and Yes Himnani. Our presentation will be dealing with the discussions on hazards related to chemical industries and what all safety measures that are taken often to reduce it. The contents. The first one is introduction, then effects of chemicals, third is accidental recalls, and then we'll proceed to routes of entry, and then safety precautions, finally to the conclusion, and at last the bibliography. The introduction part. Now let's come to the hazard. Hazard is actually a term that is associated with a substance which is likelihood to cause an injury in a given environment or situation. Most often this term, that is hazard, is confused with the term toxicity, but it should not be. Toxicity is actually an inherent property of the material. A material may be very toxic but not hazardous, but it should be handled properly so that it is not absorbed into the body. On the other hand, a material may have a very low toxicity but might be very hazardous. So we need to be careful about that. Now let us come to know what the effects the different chemicals can cause on the human health, on the human body and its organ systems. Okay, so first come to lead. It attacks the nervous system, affects the eyes. It can also cause diseases like insomnia, anemia, weight loss, and etc. Then arsenic, it causes the black foot disease and also some kind of lungs diseases. Cadmium, it attacks the respiratory system and also causes cardiovascular effects which are very much lethal. And nickel, it is the main element which causes the allergic reaction, that is the itchy skin and rashes. And mercury, we all know that it can cause Minamata, fluoride, dental fluorosis, and softening of bones, due to which the bones and teeth become and weak so that the person cannot chew or stand properly. And then manganese, hepatitis, beryllium, pulmonary granulomatosis. It is also a lung disorder. Then accidental recalls. The above mentioned chemicals and others have led to severe disasters in the history. These are not means just the events that has taken place and went off. The effects is suffered by generations and generations. They have caused several disasters that has led to diseases which passed on and generations are suffering. Let us discuss some of them. First is Minamata. It was caused by the release of methyl mercury in the industrial wastewater. It was released by the company known as Chiso Corporation's chemical factory. This highly toxic chemical substance was accumulated in the shellfish and fish in Minamata Bay and another sea called as Sirauni Sea, and the people who consumed that fish were the final victims of the disease Minamata. Nearly about 2200 victims had been officially recognized as having Minamata disease. Second is Bhopal Gas Tragedy. It occurred on a December 9 in 1984 at UCL, the Union Carbide Limited, in Bhopal, India. It was due to a dynamic explosion which caused a major gas leak, due to which a poisonous gas, methyl isocyanate, which is popularly known as MIC, was leaked, and it affected about 5 lakh people in the city and the surrounding areas. It led to the death of many individuals and nearly 4,000 people, and nearly about 6 lakhs people were injured. It is believed that there are some people still suffering from the effects caused by the inhalation of the gases. Phase in explosion. The Fezin disaster occurred in a refinery near the town of Fezin on 4th of January 1966. In Fezin explosion, an LPG spill occurred when an operator was draining water from a high pressurized propane tank. You can see the pressure is almost 1200 meter cube, very high. The resultant cloud of propane vapor spread until it was ignited by a car which was present on a side by road, and this resulted in a fireball, a huge explosion, which killed and injured firemen. Though many were not killed, but still the effects were disastrous. This resulted in the deaths of 18 people, injuring about 100 people. See, 118 people, 18 deaths and 100 injuries. That is also a huge number. Now come to health hazards. There are several health hazards reported in the chemical industries. Some of them are burns or cuts, chemical contact, explosion of fire, which occurs most often, inhalation of breath poisons, improper handling of chemicals, and machinery failure. First is burns and cuts. Both acids as well as bases can cause burns on the body. The chemical industries, by the name it suggests, it deals with the chemicals. So there will be some kind of acid and base involved in that. So we need to be careful because both of them can cause burns. For acids, a quick rinse would be sufficient, but when the burn is caused by a base, a thorough rinsing is required. Therefore, to avoid such things, we need to use vinyl or neoprene support gloves. See, there are some here, there are the pics of burns and cuts. We need to be very careful with regard to acids and bases to avoid such kind of burns and cuts. Then the chemical contact. The human skin. The human skin contains various nerve endings, and when the chemicals come into contact with that, the nerve endings are actually damaged. So we need to be careful about that. Therefore, a suitable chemical clothing should be used while handling the chemicals. Explosion or fire. There have been many such accidents we have had all through the history having deadly status relating to the damage it caused to the environment, and the damage is often measured in terms of death or pollution or the revenue losses. So to avoid such things to happen, further safety steps can be taken. We have already discussed the phase in explosion now, so we need to be very much careful and several safety measures have to be taken. For example, having the industry far away from the city in the forests. If you have the industry far away from the forest, if any explosion has occurred, then it might not be causing very much damage. And then strategically, mobile area gas monitoring units should be also be used so that we can come into notice, we can come means we can know about any explosion that has occurred at any corner of the industry. See, here are the pics about the explosion, and let's proceed to inhalation of toxic substances. There are many toxic gases such as carbon monoxide, methane, carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, and cyanide. Inhalation of these substances could lead to lung diseases, cancer, neural problems, and other cardiovascular disease. The safety measurements that can be taken against them are providing full face masks. In these face masks, blue chemical cartridges should be fixed, which can filter the air. Secondly, proper ventilation should be there. The National Research Council NRC recommending about 2.5 foot of hood space per person should be there in the chemical industries. Thirdly, proper chimneys should be installed, filtering the toxic gases released so that air pollution is also not happening. And then, why safety engineering? Ahaha. To avoid such disasters and hazards, we need to know how and why and what all the measures we can take, that is nothing but safety engineering, through which we can minimize them. What does industrial safety mean? We should go through them, right? Industrial safety refers to the management of all operations and events within an industry in order to protect its employees and assets by minimizing hazards, risk, and accidents and near misses. The industrial safety is overseen by the federal, state, and local laws and regulations. There is a body called as OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Association, which is present in United States, and it is dedicated to ensuring industrial safety. What all safety has been taken in the chemical industry? Let's have a look in that. NCA, the Manufacturing Chemist Association, it designs certain procedures according to which the chemicals in any form, solid, liquid, gas, whatever the form be, can be safely stored and handled. Their hazardous physical and chemical properties are fully understood, and the necessary precautions also, including the use of proper safeguards and personal protective equipments, are also taken into account to avoid hazards. As the chemical industry has grown in size and complexity, there have been increases in hazards to which both the laboratory personnel and the plant workers are also exposed. Like any other industry in the world, freedom from accidents is the most important for success in the chemical operations. So, several phase safety measures are taken so that there will be no accidents and there will be free from accidents. Most often, the hazardous property are not fully understood. They are only understood by the technical person, but it should not be. Safety is a job for all. So all the workers and all the persons who are concerned with that job need to understand the hazardous property, not only the technical person. For example, we have a research chemist. He is not only responsible for the day-to-day safety of himself and his co-workers, but also has a greater responsibility. Let's see what is that. He must be sufficiently safety conscious to ensure the health and safety of all who in the future, that is future, thinking about the future, yes, this is the point, may be connected with his work either as a chemical plant operator or as a user. Most often and always, new processes, new products are always encouraged and they are thoroughly researched to eliminate accident potentials. What all steps that can be taken, that is taking steps to safety. It is essential that flammable liquids are stored correctly and according to the OSHA procedures so that no hazards would be caused or no explosion or any such kind of thing can occur. If all of these measures are taken and personnel are provided with protective covering, that is apron, a pair of gloves and shoes, so that the person is fully protected all the times, then flammable liquids and gases need not pose a danger. Future considerations for reducing risk also focuses on improving personal training. The recent is virtual reality and augmented reality. It is used to train the staff members and other technical persons who deals with the safety kind of things. Mitigating risk in the chemicals industries and preparing personnel could be the difference between a well-managed chemicals production site and a large-scale disasters. So it should be taken into account. To avoid such types of hazards that we have discussed through and the disasters that has taken place in the history, several pictograms are often used so that the workers would be aware of the hazard prone areas of the industry and they can act accordingly. Let's see. Here see this a electric shock kind of thing. So whenever a worker looks a electric shock picture, he becomes aware, yes, it is an area where he can get a electric shock. The probability of getting an electric shock is more, so he becomes very careful. And a cross suggests that there are harmful chemicals, so that he need to wear the apron, gloves and shoes and those kinds of things. Here there are some more explosive, a bomb exploding kind of picture, and flammable, a flame, And then we have a oxidizer, a flame over an circle kind of thing that suggests an oxidizing flame. Like that we have toxic and skin or eye corrosive, like this symbol. We have several symbols to denote several hazards. And then there are several signboards which are divided into four parts. One is health hazard, second is fire hazard, that is red color, third is reactivity, that is yellow color, and then it is specific hazard, it is white in color. The health hazard, that is denoted in blue color, it is also graded in 0 to 4 scale, starting from normal material to the deadly danger materials. And then let's come to the fire hazard. It also starts from 0 level to the 4th level, which 0 level includes the particles and substances that will not burn at all, and fourth, that includes the particles which burn below 73 degree Fahrenheit. And the yellow part, it is the reactivity thing. It is also scale from 0 to 4, the same as the health hazards and fire hazards. It starts from stable to may detonate. And the white label, it is specific hazard. It has different kinds. Oxidizer, which stands for OX, and acid, it is represented as acid corrosive, COR, use no water, W, and a slash over it. Radiation hazard, three triangles. And here the pictograms that we have often, that the workers often use, and they need to know about all these so that they can eliminate any possible hazard to themselves. And finally, we have come to the conclusion part. Sorry, the ultimate ways for safety. First, the regulatory threat. The legislation passes several acts which are imposed on chemical industries in order to control their operational activities. So, what the legislation does, it passes several acts according to which there are several rules, and those rules are to be followed by the chemical industries. They are bound to follow so that their activities are somehow, that is indirectly, controlled by the legislation through these acts. Let us go through an example. The US chemical industries, it is regulated. Oh my god, these many acts. Now see how much important the acts are. It is regulated by the legislation including the Toxic Substance Control Act, the Chemical Facility Anti-Terrorism Standards CFATS, and the Federal Insecticide and then the Fungicide and Rodenticide Act FIFRA. The Hazardous Substance Act has, and the Consumer Product Safety Act, the CPS. In addition, all industries also need to demonstrate continued compliance to legislation. The industries should be in comply with the legislation to follow all these rules. They are bound to follow. For example, they need to go through the Pollution Prevention Act also, and TSCA, which we have already discussed, that is Toxic Substance Control Act, Import and Export Regulation. The chemical industries, they have to follow certain rules because the rules are always made for the betterment of them. They need to understand that and allow the legislation to pose several acts so that their activities will be somehow be controlled, so that if at any point of time they may go wrong, then the legislation will catch them and correct them. So that is the point where the regulatory threat comes into account. Now the shorter supply chain. Is this a little bit odd? Yes, it is. Shorter supply chain. What's it? I'll be telling you what the supply chain is. Supply chain is the chain of procedures, the transport procedures that any material or any substance has to go through from to reach from the industry to reach to the customers from the industries and to his or her locations. So if the process is short, then the material can reach fast and the number of accidents or hazards that may occur related to it will be reduced. Right. So longer supply chains create challenges for managing safety. On-time delivery, that is longer supply chains will take extra time, but shorter will take less time. Flexibility is also one more point, responsiveness and sustainability. A break in the supply chain could affect the sourcing and procurement of raw materials, conversion times, and logistics also. Let's take an example. A fatal explosion at the Evonik factory in Western Germany in March 2017, for example, affected half of the worldwide supply of CDT, cyclododecatrine, a resin essential to auto parts manufacturers of fuel and brake components. See, it will be very much harmful if so, such disasters occur. So one need to be careful, and shorter supply chains must be implemented, not the longer ones. And it has several more advantages like less time it will require, it will be more flexible, safety management will be easy. Yes, see, here we have a diagram. This is the industry. Suppose here we have the customer. So it has to go through these all procedures to reach the customer. And then here is a pic of the transport accident. That is basically a rail accident. You can see an explosion had occurred, and some gas and some substance might have leaked, and the surrounding areas will be affected. Within the chemical sector, such a break could be caused by a fire or explosion at a key supplier. It can also be a natural catastrophe. One need to note that it can also be a natural catastrophe over which we have no control. It can also be due to war or economic downturn, among any number of other causes. Also, to reduce the likelihood of a broken supply chain, chemical companies should always consider the impact of on-site accident or disaster. They have to consider this kind of thing, that is on-site accident or disaster. Third is maintain to sustain. As the name suggests, maintenance is necessary for the sustainability. Risk management. It is the key for a safe and sustainable chemical industries. Maintenance of the risk management principles is essential for sustainability, that is, for the chemical industries to remain sustained in better position. In addition to reducing fire risk by preventing overheating, regular maintenance will sustain a product supply. Next, we have a stronger maintenance strategy, the implementation of connected technologies for improved plant oversight and more resilient personal training, all from the basis of a solid strategy. Combined with an emergency plan that explains ordering a shutdown and evacuation, also announcements, chemicals companies can proactively address past mistakes and implement solutions for a healthier and safer future. Yes, they need to learn from their mistakes, and they need to make the future more healthier and safer. So here is the bibliography where we have collected the information from. We have come to the end of the presentation, guys. Very much thank you to all of you for listening to us. Thank you, guys. Thank you.